Here is our first proposition. Don't think of your audience as just academics. And I know if we're thinking about the context of a research conference, and we just said we want to know our audience, intuitively, the first thing we're going to jump to is, well, my audience are academics. And on one hand, yes, absolutely, that is true. They are academics, but they are not just academics. And if you think about the people you are communicating with as just academics, you might miss a lot of what else makes them tick as human creatures. This rather shoddily put together timeline is my attempt to represent an interesting phenomenon that happened in 1987. And so I have tried to on my x-axis here encapsulate about 300,000 years of human evolution. And then, as you can see, it's not very linear, because at the very end, my steps get a little bit skewed there. In 1987, something happens that is brand new in the scope of human evolution. And, of course, you're all dying to know what happened in 1987. It was a new application that was released, a piece of software. It was called PowerPoint. My y-axes are by billions the number of digital presentations that we create every year. And so where you can see we're on a very interesting trajectory. My point in this exercise is that this thing we're doing right now, and the thing you are probably planning on doing for your presentation, where you stand up with a number of slides, visual aids, on a digital screen, this is brand new. Like, we did not evolve to do the thing we are doing right now. And not to say it's bad, it's not to say it's ineffective, it's just to say that there's not really precedent for this, like, in the grand scope of human evolution as a species. And so it's worth thinking about what it is that is going on here. What do we know about humans? So let's kind of, reverse, in the distant past, before 1987, what do we know about humans? We know that humans are not really fantastic mammals when it comes to defending themselves. You take the, average human being and the average mammal of any other species, and you pit them against each other, it does not turn out well for the human. We don't have great claws, we don't have great teeth, and in the world, we don't fare very well as individuals. And so many other complicating factors, I should say, like we have these ginormous heads, so we have this very short gestation period, because we walk on two legs. Complicated species. And that means that we, have to create these social structures that mean that we have to organize how we organize as people to bring up these infants who are completely helpless and useless when they're born. I have kids, they can't keep themselves alive, like they have no self-preservation instinct. The whole species has a pretty interesting thing going on. But you take all that, and it boils down to kind of one central observation about human beings, and that is that we desperately need each other. Humans don't work as individual mammals, right? We are a group species, we're a social species. And I know we all say that, but it's worth thinking about why it is that we evolved that way. We evolved this way because if we didn't, we wouldn't make it. We are here because we are, part of a lineage of descendants who figured out that the way you make it is by working together, is by helping one another, is by being families and being tribes and being groups that have each other's backs. Think about the distant past, you not being a member of the group, you being expelled from the group, you being ostracized from the group. Now we think of that's a bad day on social media, right? Like we have an interesting frame of reference for the idea of being removed from the group. But we are a part of a species who, for hundreds of thousands of years, that equaled death, right? It's not just you're not part of the group anymore, it's that you don't make it anymore. And we have a very, very, very strong occupation, therefore, as a species, in the deep inner workings of our DNA to be part of a group. And you look at any other, we'll just use mammals for the sake of a comparison, you look at any other mammals that are group species, and what are they very, very concerned about all the time? Hierarchy, status, belonging. And we like to look at other animals who have hierarchies, who have status and social signals, and we think of that as very animal. But it does not take long for you to take a step back from society and look at the humans around you and the way they make decisions and the way we structure ourselves and find that very common thread. When you are, you're falling asleep at night, or you're just letting your mind wander in the shower or something. They call that the default mode network. The default mode network is like what your brain does when you're like not putting anything else in. And the default mode network typically defaults to what? I wonder what he meant when he said that. I wonder how she's thinking about that thing that happened at the meeting. Your brain defaults to this analysis of the social network that you are a part of because you have evolved with a very clear understanding that your stability and your security in the group is life, is survival. So we can think about humans wherever we find them, whether we find them at an academic conference, whether we find them on public transit, wherever, as rather status-obsessed animals. And I just mean it's interesting to think about, like maybe just a scene of people like standing on the bus. All those people who are standing on the bus need not just to belong, but to feel like they belong means to feel like they have something to contribute. Contributing to the group, being a part of the group, is how you are a part. So, quick review. Humans 101, the creatures you were speaking to at the conference, aside from being academics, are humans. We know that humans cannot survive outside of a group. We know that humans evolved to survive through reciprocal aid. We know that humans are naturally and not always consciously preoccupied with their status in the group, with their status relative to one another. And humans are intrinsically motivated by what gains them security or respect in a group. You're walking into the conference. Yes, your audience are academics, but they are also this very special kind of animal. When we realize this, I think it gives us some superpowers. Our first superpower is realizing that your audience, no matter who your audience is, assuming that they're humans, your audience are subjective meaning makers, that they make meaning relative to their immediate social situations, that there's not really humans somewhere coming up with an idea of this is meaningful or not meaningful without meaningfulness being a part of or adjacent to the social dynamics that they are in. You realize you can speak directly to your audience's intrinsic need to belong and to contribute. I'm not saying in a manipulative way. I'm just saying if you want to talk to human beings and if you want to talk to what makes human beings tick, human beings, as they are a part of the group, is a very large part of what makes them tick. You realize you can address some of the root fears, some of the root nervousness about going on air or about just public speaking in general. We can rechannel some of that adrenaline in meaningful ways, but it really is helpful to go back to first principles and think about this. 200,000 years ago, if you had an idea to share with the group and you were going to stand around the campfire and say, this is what I think we should do. This is what I think we should believe. This is where I think we should go. You are not just offering ideas, what's at risk? What's on the table? You're belonging in the group. You want to talk about like interesting reasons why we may have evolved a very universal fear of public speaking. It doesn't take you long to think about why that might be. Like, we probably descended from the people who were like, yikes, I think I will keep my mouth shut. I will sit at the back of the campfire, and I think it would be safer for me to shut up. So you think what it means to be in front of a group and to share ideas or suggestions or opinions with a group has some really deep-rooted dynamics to our nature as a social species. And our fourth superpower I think we can take away from this is that really your audience is more concerned with their own status than your performance. I often hear people when they're about to get up and speak in front of people say, like, I'm really concerned the audience is judging me. That's a common fear we have, and probably in many respects, it's probably true. But humans are far more preoccupied with, if I'm listening to a speaker present, I'm far more preoccupied with what they are saying has to do with my status, my security, who I am in the group, how I'm perceived, right? I am sitting as an audience member doing a lot of judging, but I actually am much more preoccupied with judging myself. So don't just think of your audience as academics, think of them as group identifying social animals.